received a message from a woman who's having some issues in her marriage. I'm going to read out her message and then share some of my thoughts, share some of my advice. I'm having behavioral problems with my husband. He's been very emotionally absent since the start. He's really lacking emotional understanding towards me. This is my second pregnancy. It's been hard for me during my first pregnancy as well. He's also a mama's boy. He's very into himself. It's been so problematic for me. He just doesn't understand. I've spoken to him about it so many times. It's not working. I don't know who I should talk to. There's no emotional understanding at all. I have to cry, shed my tears, and beg for some attention. He is also not punctual towards time. He also keeps things here and there, doesn't keep his things in place, like his towel and things, and forces me to follow what his mother says because it would hurt his mother, etc. I have a toddler. I don't have a proper sleep schedule after having my first baby. I'm also pregnant again with my second baby. This is a crucial time for any woman. I need peace and sleep. What should I do? But he's a pious person, does all of his 5 prayers and all. I'm tired, please help. I'm mentally exhausted due to his behavior. He's still very childish. We married women expect men, not children. It's my second pregnancy. I can't bear this anymore. I can't live with a man like this. What if my relatives all make fun if I leave him because he's a doctor and has maintained a high level of dignity outside by praying 5 times daily, but doesn't show any kind of empathy, care and love towards his family, wife? I'm tired. Okay, the first thing I want to say is just because a man prays his 5 prayers doesn't mean he's pious. A truly pious man is someone who has good character. There is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of men are those who are best to their wives. So if your husband is praying his 5 prayers but he's not having the best character towards you, his wife, doesn't mean that he's being pious. It could just mean that he's doing outward displays of the religion, but really what matters a lot in Islam is the inner aspect, your character, especially towards your wife and your kids. Your worth as a woman is not defined by whether you're married or not and who you're married to or not. And you need to pick your hard. You either remain married to an emotionally absent husband, your relatives don't make fun of you, or you potentially leave your emotionally absent husband and your relatives may make fun of you. You need to pick your hard. This is the first thing that I would suggest to you. I know that you are extremely tired, and because you have an irregular sleep schedule, more likely than not, you're probably awake late at night. In those hours, in your exhaustion, turn to Allah, especially those hours late at night. It's tahajjud time usually. So in those hours, make an abundance of dua to Allah. Pour your heart out in dua to Allah. That's the first step. Now, the second step is this. With dua, we also need to take some form of action. And so here are some examples of action steps that you can take. You've mentioned that you've already spoken to your husband and he's not really taking on board what you've said. Is there anyone in your community that he would listen to? Someone that you trust, that you can go and share what you're going through with, that person that you trust and that he would also listen to? Is there someone like that? Now, I don't know what community you're from or what community you belong in. I know that in some communities, if I were to suggest, for example, to you to go and speak to a sheikh, sometimes, not always, but sometimes in certain communities, the sheikh may favor the man or may disregard the woman's feelings and may say, oh, you know, this is just part of marriage, just put up with it. I don't know if you belong to that type of community. So in that situation, I wouldn't recommend going to speak to a sheikh. But if there is a sheikh or a trusted person in your community that you could speak to about this, that can then advise your husband, then go and do that first. Now, it's really important that you, even though you are extremely exhausted, and I really feel for you, it's still important from your side, so that in front of Allah you know that you've done everything you can. It's still important from your side to ask yourself, what is it that you can do? You're asking for my advice, but truly you know inside what are some of the things that you could do, even if it's difficult. So for example, you could suggest to your husband that you want things to improve in the marriage and that you would love it if he would be on board with working with someone together, you and him working with someone to help you to resolve the issues in your marriage. Ask him if he cares about this marriage. Tell him about the hadith that I mentioned at the start, that is so important for him to be as good as possible to his wife. Tell him that you're unhappy with the situation and that you would love for you and him to work together to resolve these issues. Mention to him that you've mentioned these things to him in the past and he hasn't really taken on board what you've said, and so for that reason it might be helpful to have a mediator in the middle, someone like a therapist or a counselor, someone that even he can choose that is professionally qualified to help resolve marital relationship issues. Now, a truly good man, if he realizes that my wife is unhappy and she's suggesting for us to get some kind of professional help, a man who is truly good and who cares about his wife and who wants to remain married would usually be on board to receive that professional help. If he doesn't want the professional help, he will try and make those changes himself. He will put in the effort to change. But if he knows himself that he's struggling to change or he doesn't want to change, and then you suggest in a nice, calm, respectful way, if you suggest something like therapy or counseling or working with a professional in your community to help you, if he thinks to himself, I want to remain married to my wife, then yes, I am willing to receive this professional help because I want our marriage to work. However, I'm aware that unfortunately, sometimes in some marriages, a woman will speak to her husband and say the things that she's unhappy about. Sometimes the man won't really listen to what his wife said. And then sometimes the wife might suggest something like therapy or counseling, and again, the man may not listen. Now, it's still upon you as a woman to at least go forward and suggest those things so that you are doing everything that you can possibly do within your power, so that you're not just kind of saying, oh, I'm out of this marriage immediately. You're still putting in the steps. Now, why do I say all of this? Because I don't believe that a couple should stay together long term if they are regularly and consistently unhappy, and if one or both of them are not willing to receive professional help. Either they work together to resolve those issues together on their own. Some couples can resolve the issues together on their own without professional help, but other couples, no matter how hard they try to resolve it on their own, they can't. And in those situations, it's worth getting professional help. Now, in the Quran itself, Allah tells us that the purpose of marriage is rahma, mawadda, sakina. Rahma is like mercy and compassion. Mawadda is love. Sakina is tranquility and peace. So that's the reason why I said I don't believe that in Islam a couple are meant to stay together long term, consistently unhappy. I don't believe that's the purpose of marriage. The marriage is meant to be this place of sakina, like you long to come home to your spouse, because when you see your spouse, you just feel at peace. You love them so much, like you feel happy to be around them. They are your companion in this life. And so based on what this woman has described in her message, the status of her marriage right now doesn't seem like any of those three words that I mentioned. And so for that reason, if the woman has done all of the steps necessary, she's exhausted all of her steps, you might even want to document, as a woman, document the fact that you have taken all the means that you're able to within your power to resolve the issues in your marriage. And then the ball is kind of in your husband's court. He then is the one who's going to show you whether he truly cares about you or not. And go back to that hadith that I mentioned at the start. The best of men are those that are best to their wives. If he really wanted to be the best to you and he was really a good, pious Muslim that you think he is, he would take steps to either make changes himself, or he would show you that yes, he's willing to receive that professional help. If you've done all of that and there's no changes, then go and speak again to someone trusted. It could be a sheikh that you trust who isn't going to be biased to one gender or the other, someone who's going to, give you proper advice that is truly from Islam, not infiltrated by cultural bias, but really from Islam. If you've done everything on your part, then go and speak to a sheikh about next steps if you feel like you can no longer stay in this type of marriage.